With Storm Owen hitting the UK, the question on everyone's lips is, can Bournemouth's roof stay intact? Welcome to the preview for Bournemouth versus Forest. Good morning, good evening, or good night. Hope you guys are doing well, and welcome to the preview for Bogey Bournemouth versus Forest. If you're enjoying the content, quick reminder, don't forget to hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed as well if you're new to Forest Fan TV, and check this prize out. He signed a contract this week, and now he signed a shirt, and it's framed. It's our Murillo from Football Prizes. Go get your tickets for this signed frame Murillo shirt. It's only 39p, not pounds, pence. Scan the QR code here or click on the link that's pinned in the comments. Okay, let's jump into this. So, bogey team Bournemouth. I don't like playing them. I'll be straight with you. We should have beaten them at the City Ground. They scored in 2 minutes to go of normal time, and then we would have blown that bogey right out of the nose. And we could have looked at this and thought, bogey team, what bogey team? We beat them. But that voodoo is still above our head, as it's been, I think, since 2015, since we've last beat them. Someone confirm that to me in the comments, if you don't mind. And they've got a lot of injuries, and they're starting to bring out the world's smallest violin to cry about them. But when I look through it, it's not really the biggest set of names. They've got Evan Nielsen, who's out. I rate him as a striker. Their backup striker, Unal, is out. But their third striker, Atu, or however you say his name, he's always scored against Forest anyway, so does it really matter from their perspective? So they got a couple of other players out, but the team they fielded against Newcastle is still quite strong. Looking at it, Patrick Kluivert's in hot form. You had Semenyo, who I would so take at Forest. And then they've got their defenders, who are getting bigged up. You got Kirkes, the left back that everyone seems to want. You got Hudson, the new wannabe Murillo. He ain't no Murillo. And, you know, they've got a solid team all round, even with their injuries. So this is no doubt, and don't mistake it, going to be a very, very tough match. And with Forest side on injuries, Nuno did his presser, and he says that Callum Hudson-Odoi is doubtful. I don't think Callum Hudson-Odoi will be risked, even if he is close to fitness. Groin injuries, he could tweak it again and what have you. So I think he won't play. But there's a different set of formations that Nuno can go with, and a different set of options, because let's remember, Danilo is pretty much back in the squad, although we haven't seen him on the bench in the last 2 games. Unless, God forbid, he sustained another injury, I would expect him to at least be on the bench for this game. So let's go have a play around with the team sheet, and let me talk to you about a couple of options that Nuno can go with. Alrighty, so let's have a look at the team that kicked off last week when Forest beat Southampton, and we can make a good assumption that Hudson-Odoi won't be in this starting 11 based on his injury. So Nuno could keep this quite simple. Now, personally, I'd just do a straight replacement with Sosa, but it just feels like Jota is higher up in the pecking order when it comes to Nuno, and I'll be honest with you, I've not really been impressed with Jota over the last few weeks. So I think if Nuno's going to stay in this 4-2-3-1 formation, he's going to switch Alanga over to the left-hand side and probably bring Jota in on the right. I think what he'll do, he seems to like to rotate Dominguez and Yates. You'll probably see Yates coming back into the starting 11 against Bournemouth, probably more his type of match really, in my opinion, for this. So I think if he does go with the 4-2-3-1, this is probably quite simply the easiest option he has. And then you'll have the likes, hopefully, of Danilo to come off the bench. Dominguez, if Forest are winning, maybe Taiwo can come on and score, who knows. So that's the simple team sheet change that he could do. However, if you think back to the Brentford game, had Murillo not had that little tweak before the match, Forest were going to start in a back 3. And Bournemouth and Brentford, although not exactly similar, have some similar traits in them. And it wouldn't surprise me to see him go with a back 3 formation. So that would mean, in essence, he's going to have to drop one of the wingers, probably Jota, to bring Morato in. You'll see Nico Williams and Einar move up the pitch. And then what you'll see obviously is M and M, which will be Amarato on the left-hand side, Murillo in the middle, and Milenkovic on the right of the centre-backs. Now, then I think there's a couple of things he can do here. He can either go for that 4-3-3 narrow formation, so he puts MGW and Elanga in there. I don't think that's balanced. I would rather, if he was going to do that, save Elanga's pace for the second half. Maybe push Anderson into that midfield, into that kind of second number 10, and then go with Yates and Dominguez just to bring a bit of kind of workmanship into that midfield. That's if he wants to do it from a narrow perspective. However, the other option he can do if he wants to be aggressive with it and allow Murillo to push almost as the CDM is take both Yates and Dominguez out and then push Anderson and Morgan Gibbs-White into that middle. We saw that against Villa, I think it was, at home. And that would bring the three there. Then he could bring on some width because he could bring on Elanga on this left-hand side and then probably Jota. Again, I would switch that round and I'd put Sosa in ahead of Jota. But it just depends how aggressive Nuno wants to be. I think it's going to be one of those three teams. And I think it'll be one of those two formation. If I had to put some money on it, I'd probably lean more towards this back three. It's just a question of, does he want to go aggressive with that midfield too and trust Murillo, which I think he can do, to kind of sweep up and step out of that defensive back three? Or is he going to go a bit more conservative and go with maybe Dominguez and Yates in the middle? I want him to go ballsy. I'd probably go with this team. There's pace in that counter-attack. You got Elanga, Jota's no slouch. You got Einar and Williams who could overlap. And I like the connection between Morgan Gibbs-White and Anderson. Let's just go for it, man. Let's get this bogey team done and dusted. What team would you go with? What formation would you do? Let me know in the comments down below. So touching back on Brentford, they're undefeated in about 10 or 11 games. They're moving nicely up the old Premier League. Obviously not as good as Forest. We're sitting nicely in third while they're sitting, let's have a look. I think they are sitting 7th. 37 points, so even if they do the unthinkable and beat Forest, they'd still be 4 points behind us. But we're at that stage of the season with the run we've got coming up in February. This match, the Brighton match and the Fulham match, we need to be taking about 6 or 7 points out of it, if I'm being honest with you. With Newcastle, then I think it's Man City and Arsenal or the other way around. That's going to be a tough run-in. And if Forest is serious about pushing Liverpool, or at least trying to get top 4, points are essentials and draws are basically losses. So, you know, but they're doing well. They're doing well, but they can be inconsistent. Everyone's bigging up their performance against Newcastle, and rightly so. Kluivert had a fantastic game, as did Semenya and many others in their team. But some would argue, I'm sure from the Toon side, that the Toon weren't really on it that day. So I expect Bournemouth to come into this game full of expectation, especially with the old bogey word hanging over us. How do I see this one going? They're a good counter-attacking team. The onus will be on them to have the ball in this game. And it'll be interesting to see how they cope with that, especially at home. Forest, for me, if they set up in a back three with those pacey wingers, can and will cause them some problems and should be able to create some chances. And with Wadinho in the form he is in, and his track record against Bournemouth is pretty good historically for him, maybe he can bag a goal or two. I gotta do the whole 0-0 thing with you lot because you'll kill me, but I'm not confident, and honestly, I do think this could be the first time the 0-0 is actually a 0-0. I hope not. I really want to beat them. Nuno's taken so many scalps of those teams that we just haven't been able to beat since we've been back. And I think the only two teams left are Bournemouth and Man City from those who have been in the Premier League for over a season or so. So this would be a good scalp. It really would. And it would just stop those Bournemouth fans and it would create a nice buffer. This is the key thing for me. This is why I want Forest to win. If we go to 47 points by beating Bournemouth, We put a 10-point gap on them. As I said, they're sitting in 7th. Okay, other teams will play, etc. But that's a nice cushion. That almost, you think to yourself, 10 points. They will do well to recover that one. And that almost says, you know, going forward, okay, Conference League in 7th, could be 8th this season. We are now looking quite secure about it. Let's look up and see, can we cement a Champions League spot? Or maybe even go for the T word. What do you guys think? How do you see this one going? We need to beat them. The one score I don't want to see is a 3-2 to Bournemouth. That, for me, will kill me. Now remember, there's always controversy. We know Bournemouth use brown envelopes. Their whole transfer budget gets blown against Forest when they cheated in that late game in the season when we are getting promoted. Willy Bolly being sent off for doing absolutely nothing. Bournemouth seem to have the refs in their pocket whenever we play them. So we need to watch out for that one. But let's hope that Forest can get this one over the line. This will give us a real boost going into Brighton and then to Fulham. So get your score predictions in down below. And if you haven't already, don't forget to hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed as well if you are new here. Go get these Murillo tickets before I do, man. That is just beautiful. We'll see you on the next video. Come on, you Reds.